Hello and welcome back to Woodworking Monetized, where woodworking doesn't have to be another expensive hobby. And this is episode 13. I know it's been a while. I thank you so much for those of you who have been with me before this episode in this long break that I've had. But I finally got back to it. Somebody in the comments mentioned it's been 4 months since my paternity leave, so it's over, get back to work. So I have done that. In this episode, I've got 10 sets of wooden pumpkins and 10 sets of wooden Christmas presents. So let's get started with the tools and materials. So I know wood prices are still pretty high right now, and it seems like whenever I price out some pieces, people are saying that, wow, what they get is what I have is a lot more expensive where they are. But there's my proof that I spent $44 or just shy of $44 on four 4x4s. They're 8 foot long. Just a word of caution, if you're going to use ribbon on all of your pumpkins, you're probably going to want to buy another 4-foot piece of dowel to accommodate the ribbon. And here's my cut list for the 4x4s, the long ones being 9 inches and then 6 inches and 4 inches. And obviously if you adjust for the kerf of the cuts that you make, each of the 9 inches are going to be a little bit less than that, and the 6 inches as well. But you can pretty much get 4 inches out of all the wood that's there. And the great thing about this project is both the presents and the pumpkins are anything but fine woodworking, so I just gave a quick sand over the edges and the corners. I wasn't watching the clock really closely, but it definitely took under a half hour to do all the sanding. And I had the routing taking anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes for just the ends. Now that all the routing and sanding was finished, I just separated them out for both the pumpkins and the presents, and I was able to get away by using most of the previous paint from the pumpkins from my Irish flag that I did. But here I am cutting into the tops where the stems are going to come, and there were a couple of dowels that I just decided that were short that I decided to nail on with my nail gun, but I felt after looking at it that it was better to kind of give the illusion that these dowels were coming out from the inside of them. But you definitely don't have to cut them as deep as I did to get that look. And you'll see that most of these cuts, my dowel for the dowels are not in the dead center, but I think that kind of goes with the idea that they are pumpkins, and all pumpkins are not created equal. And you'll see here that I used my burning tool and propane from the previous episode that I had left over from my American flags. You can check out that episode. I'll leave a link in the description as well. And so I just gave them a quick run over, making sure that I didn't have the same pattern on any of them. And for the presents, I didn't want all the big ones to be red or one color, so I kind of separated them out. So I had, I think with the way I had it separated out, I had 4 of the large ones being white, 4 of the medium sized ones or the 6-inch ones being red, and 4 of the small ones being green, just so there was a variety. So if somebody wanted to buy 2 sets, they wouldn't have 2 large red ones. They didn't have to, at least. And I barely made it with the existing white paint that I had from my Irish flag. Obviously check out that video before if you're interested in a simple flag that I made some money on. I also tried to burn the wood on some of these, on the green ones, but it didn't really shine through, or maybe I painted them, coated them too much, or maybe the paint was just too dark, but the burned wood didn't show through, so I didn't burn it really for the red or the white. The end grain really soaks in and takes up all the paint, so just make sure that if you're doing these, let them dry and go back through them. And I had some success with kind of dabbing them like a sponge. But here they are drying. Really like how the pumpkins turned out with the burning showing through underneath. So after making one small, medium, and large present or bow for each of them, I then took each one off and got the correct measurements and batched out all the cutting of those. So the small ribbons were 17 and 47, and then the mediums were 20 and 55 inches long, and then the larges you see here were 27 and 57. Yours might vary a little bit based on how big your presents are. And then for the first few presents, I had my wife show me how it's done in the arts and craft realm, and then she was there coaching me through a few of them before I got it down, making sure that the bows and the ribbon before that is nice and taut on the side, and gluing it down first, and then going through back with the bow afterwards. The ribbon is 2.5 inches wide, and you have to make sure that it is wired ribbon. That allows you to manipulate the bows and gluing them down a little bit easier. So make sure you start with bunny ears, so not how I normally tie a shoe, but get your bunny ears and then throw them through and just kind of tweak it using that wired part of the ribbon to make it look like a present. It's definitely an area in the process that I could speed up and cut down the time to do this with more practice. There you have it, a bow, and then cutting the ends at an angle. Using the stain from a previous build of one of my noodle boards, I had some remaining stain. I just quickly stained each of these just with an old shirt, and then waited 15-20 minutes like Steve Ramsey showed me. He's not the inventor of this idea, but wait 15 minutes and then you run some paper towel over them afterwards so they don't just stay sticky the whole time. And they're at different measurements, and again, if you're going to use ribbon on all of them, you're probably going to want to invest in a little bit more dowel and make each stem a little bit longer so it can accommodate for the ribbon as well as the raffia. They also have raffia at Hobby Lobby of different colors as well, so if you wanted to get some more color on your pumpkins, you can do that. And then they got this checkered ribbon at Hobby Lobby as well, and they were 50% off, so just spent about $2. But if I had to do it again, I'd probably make all of them with this ribbon just because they look a little bit nicer. But in making these, you just take the ribbon and the raffia together. Each ribbon is 24 inches, 2 feet, and you do one over and under with both the ribbon and the raffia. And when you're done with that, then with the second knot that you make, or just the over and under, you just use the ribbon. And there you have it, wife approved. If you look closely, you'll see a few of the presents have yet to be wrapped with the ribbon prior to making this video. At the end of episode 12, I ended with $965 in the Woodworking Monetized purse. The cost of tools and materials for this project, episode 13, was $113. Now I intend on selling all 20 sets both 10 of the Halloween and 10 of the Christmas at $30 each. So that gives me a profit, or revenue rather, of $600. When I subtract the cost of the tools and materials, that's $487. And when I add that to $965, that leaves me at the end of this episode 13 with $1,452. Now, this is the first episode where I will be taking some of these, both of these Halloween pumpkins and these, and selling them at a shop, but they charge a pretty high commission of 35%. So I'm going to try to sell at least the ones with the ribbons on them, of the wooden ones, and some of these maybe for $45. Now I know that price point is quite high, but that's going to offset some of my costs. I'll let you know how that goes in maybe a future update video to see if I get any sales there. The rest of them I'll be selling word of mouth and mainly through Facebook local groups and the Facebook Marketplace. If you want any tips and tricks on that, I've got my previous episode of Facebook Marketplace tips and tricks. You can check that out as well. If you have any other questions or have any suggestions as to what to purchase, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one that will be sooner than this one came out. All right, take care.